about your little snack, Eckhardt?
You broadcasted.
Shut up. Listen. Harvey Dent has been sniffing around one of our front companies.
That's my territory. If there's a problem, I deal with it.
Your problems are our problems.
I answer to Grissom, not to psychos.
Why, Eckhardt, you want to think about the future?
You mean when you run the show, you ain't got no future, Jack. You're an A1 nut boy. Grissom knows it.
Better be sure. See, you can make a good decision when you try.
Where you been spending your nights?
Porkins. I'm right with you, referee. Checked. I can hold it.
And welcome. This is Will. This is your Sci-Fi Will, and today we're talking William Hootkins. We're talking the actor that has really made a splash, a big impression on loads of fans in many genres for many movies. And specifically, I opened up the show here with a clip from 1989's Batman, directed by Tim Burton, starring Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton, and William Hootkins, and of course Star Wars. Now, he appeared in Star Wars first as Porkins. His full name in Star Wars was Jek Tono Porkins. That's Jektono. So Jet Tono Porkins. And that was, I guess, really one of his first big roles. Certainly, well, in a big movie. It wasn't a big role. It wasn't a large role anyway, but it was memorable, you know? And I think that's what, of course, so many movie fans love about character actors like William Hootkins. They're not in it, you know, in the movies, in whatever production, in every scene, and they're not leads, but they're supporting, you know, character actors, one or two scenes, and you love them and you remember them. And for me, as a kid watching Star Wars and Batman, I was like, you know, this guy could really go toe-to-toe with someone like Jack Nicholson. In the scene that I played, he's playing Lieutenant Eckhardt, the corrupt, sort of slimy, you know, on the dole, on the mob dole. He's working really for the crime boss, Carl Grissom, played by Jack Palance. And of course, Jack Nicholson is, you know, Jack. Like he says, you're his A1 nut boy. You're never going to take over for Carl Grissom. You're never going to be, you know, the big mob boss, the big cheese. So, you know, don't push me around and try to demean me. Here's a snack. Instead of a ham sandwich, it's a money sandwich. Well, who wouldn't want a sandwich with about $2,000 or $3,000? But that's being corrupt. But you look at that scene, you know, you look at the way Hootkins, who was not a name, and he's, you know, he's bringing it right with Nicholson, toe to toe. And I'm sure any big lead like Jack Nicholson will say, I have to have a good, you know, opposite supporting actor, whomever's in that scene. I got to have someone that's going to be right there with me. And William Hootkins was. So, right, holding your own in that scene that Hootkins does with Nicholson, you know, between any big lead actor or actress, you've got to be talented. You have to, you know, again, bring that character and be in that moment. And I think it's clear, certainly for the Star Wars character, for Porkins, these fans are responding to him being a big dude, a chubby man. He's not, Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill's, fit, athletic, almost, California surfing dude build and look, or Harrison Ford, sort of rugged and in your face masculinity and strength. He's a regular dude, Porkins. He's a regular guy. He's a chubby, beefy, burly dude that is just there like everyone is. I mean, most people don't have a super athletic, leading man build, be they man or woman, right? Most people have sort of a normal build. You're overweight or you're a little underweight or whatever. So when you look at the comments, and I, was researching and on YouTube to get the audio samples and clips there's a bunch of comments. I mean, there's hundreds, right under, the Porkins scenes. And this is great. About a couple years ago, gotta admit, the mere fact that Jack Tono Porkins exists makes me feel like I could fight the Empire too. More than any other leather jacket or pretty boy, Jack Porkins is the everyday, everyman rebel hero. He's you and me. Someone in that universe far, far away cared for Jack Porkins and wept when he didn't come home. That's profound. It's so true. And in many ways, you identify more with, say, Porkins than you will, Luke Skywalker or Han Solo. And then after him, I would probably say Han Solo, because most people aren't going to be running around being, the monk-like Jedi and, going to Dagobah with Yoda for fucking months, and I'm going to be a Jedi. Most people are going to be running around saying, yeah, I'm going to gamble a little, I'm going to try to get the girl, the guy, whatever, and be a Han Solo more, or a Porkins. Another is, sadly, William Hootkins passed away in 2005, and they go on for, his sort of obituary. This is cute. Naming a fat guy Porkins, Lucas, you are awesome. And then someone says, in the end, though, George Lucas turned out to look like Porkins. And someone said, that's a blessing. So, one of the greatest battle scenes ever made in the history of movies. He was brave enough to not eject or give up his cover position. Yes, sir, you were a hero. And finally, Porkins is so awesome. Why did the rebels even bother sending out a fleet of X-Wings? I'm sure Porkins could have easily handled those hundreds of TIE fighters himself and destroyed the Death Star, no problem. And he would have given Vader a good beating beforehand also. I agree. I think it's great. Again, the character actors that we almost forget while we're watching, or just kind of dismiss, 2 lines, 3 lines, 2 scenes. And then later you're like, they kind of key to certain things. Certainly Porkins might not be the keystone of all the Death Star battle scene, but he's memorable because, right, he sacrificed his life. He stuck it out and tried to help his buddy, his fighting, X-Wing fighter pilot, it's just really good stuff. So, and then, of course, we have Batman, and this is the great part of being a character actor, whereas, like, say, a Harrison Ford or even Mark Hamill, they're not going to be, one day I'm the good guy and then I'm the bad guy. They usually are going to play it straight to a good guy most of the time, the hero. But William Hootkins was a character actor. And in Batman, he played Lieutenant Eckhardt, the corrupt guy. The guy on the dole. And again, the scene, when I opened it up, it's, you're not going to make it, Jack. And Jack is like, you better think about the future right before he shoots him. And someone on YouTube, it's great, you guys should look this up. They took the scene from 1989's Batman and they, superimposed and edited the Porkins scene. So when, Jack Nicholson as Jack goes, think about the future, Eckhardt, and he shoots him, it pauses and it plays an Enya song. Like, and then you see all the Star Wars, battle scenes with Porkins as if he's thinking about the future, that he's in the future in a sci-fi epic. It's just great. It's one of the great examples of fan stuff on YouTube. So now, who was the man? Who was William Hootkins? He's passed now. He passed in 2005. Right from his official wiki, was an American actor best known for supporting roles in Hollywood blockbusters such as Star Wars, Batman, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. So obviously George Lucas really admired his work. He put him in 2 films. It was, I guess, a really quickie, part. He's an official, I guess, a detective. In the beginning, I think he's the guy that comes in with Indy, and he's talking to him, right, to sort of brief him or something. So it's not long, but there's another Lucas production, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Born in Dallas, Texas, found himself caught up. Hootkins found himself caught up in the FBI's investigation of the assassination of President J.F. Kennedy when he was interviewed about Ruth Paine, his Russian teacher. Wow. And that was at age 15. Marina Oswald, the Russian wife of the assassin Lee Harvey Oswald, and their children had been living with Paine in Dallas. So that's another really notable part of his life. In school, he also developed his taste for theater, joining the same drama group as Tommy Lee Jones, who was a year ahead of him in high school. Hootkins would later say that since Jones was better looking and got all the best parts, I supported from then on in. So there you go. So in that, sort of turning point, he knew that, his looks and his build, he wouldn't be getting the leading man. So he's like, I knew I was a supporter. I supported from then on in. So he attended Princeton, studying astrophysics before transferring to Oriental Studies, where he became fluent in Mandarin Chinese. This stood him in good stead when he played the part of an interpreter in an episode of The West Wing titled Impact Winter. So really, really, varied and interesting background. On the recommendation of his good friend John Lithgow, he moved to London in the early 70s and trained as an actor at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, or the Lambda. He made his home in London until 2002 when he moved to LA. So he went early on to Britain, to UK in London, and he stayed until about 2 years or so before he died, 2 or 3 years before he died. Yep, and I'm reading further. He portrayed Fatty Arbuckle in Ken Russell's infamous flop Valentino, and he played Hans Zarkov's assistant in the 1980 Flash Gordon. That's right. Yeah, in the beginning, and when Hans Zarkov is with the rocket and all, right. He also made appearances in such films as, of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark and Tim Burton's Batman, as the latter as Lieutenant Eckhardt. He also appeared in several TV roles, including George Froman in The Lost Boys. Not the movie, the vampire movie. This is a TV show. And in the remake of The Tomorrow People, which is a great sci-fi classic that they remade. There you have it. This is interesting. At the time of his death, Hootkins was planning to write a screenplay on Fatty Arbuckle to star, focusing on the comic's life after his fall from grace. He had met Arbuckle's last wife, Addie McPhail, and I guess he was working or collaborating, but he died. So there you have it. William Hootkins, someone who's really made a big impression on fans in several big blockbusters, and he was never a big leading man figure. He just had the talent. And again, the next time you watch Batman, Star Wars is great, but it's really quick, his scenes. I guess he's got two, when they kind of introduce him, and then he dies really quickly. But the Batmans, he has two major scenes in Batman with Jack Nicholson and then Robert Wall as the reporter. And this is great. When you're looking at a character actor who could later on become maybe a lead, if he had done the Fatty Arbuckle movie, it could have been a big splash, because it's true. That's one of those areas of Hollywood I'd always heard about too, but yet no one's really made anything sufficient and long-term project, a long form. You just you always hear about that, scandalous thing with Fatty Arbuckle and certain, of the day, and no one's ever really done justice. So go watch William Hootkins. You have much to look for and to love, and keep on subscribing, keep on feedbacking and messaging us. We're free. You can pay. We have the paid tier, the $4.99 for some exclusives. But other than that, we're free as well. Have a good one. Watch William Hootkins movies, and we'll see you soon.